Hello, welcome to Local Edition. I'm Leslie Leyton. The Congress now working on a national transportation bill, and with us now to talk about a part of that bill is Congressman Alan Lowenthal. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Leslie, for being here. Yes, by the end of this month, May, we have to have our surface transportation bill in place. That's all the infrastructure for roads and highways and airports and ports. And I'm working on one part of that, and that part has to do with the management of freight. What's the national plan? Where do we have problems in moving freight throughout the nation? And what are going to be the innovative approaches? And how are we going to tie freight, the movement of freight, to other goals like greenhouse gases reduction, and yet still have a development of a policy that invests in the movement of freight. And,
well, that is a huge issue, especially important to this area. 40% of everything that comes into this country comes in through our ports.
That's
right. So what specifically are you going to look at and address?
Well, we're going to look at the existing systems in each state, and we're going to say, well, there's going to be a formula because we have so many roads that are just dedicated now to freight. We're going to look at what are the major national projects that need to be done, and we're going to compete from those. They have to be recommended from the local level, and we're going to look at national projects. Mm-hmm. And we're going to also say we're going to have a sustainable funding stream to do that. It has to be one in which we know if you're going to build all this infrastructure and work on highways and alternative energy, you have to know that the funding stream will be there in the future, or else none of these projects will get developed.
How far have you gotten on this procedure?
We're now it's before the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and I'm actively out there trying to get as much support as I can. What will happen is that the part that I'm in on freight will be included into the larger transportation bill. I'm just hoping that the critical things that I mentioned, how do we fix the existing system, how do we create the new infrastructure, and how do we pay for it, will be part of the bill.
So you focus on these specific things, but it is everything in transportation, including air and rail and funding for all of this, and that can be the hitch in the get-along where some people might not be interested in funding high-speed rail.
Well, you're right. There may be specific things, and you picked one, high-speed rail, where there is
a point of contention already.
But the most bipartisan thing that we do in this nation really is how do we maintain our investments in infrastructure? And we haven't done that for a long time, and it's not a Democratic or Republican issue. It's how do we build that kind of consensus? Different parts of the country want different things, but everybody realizes that if we're going to be competing on a world stage, we must take a system that is beginning to be broken down and really have it ready for the 21st century. We're not sure how we pay for it, and both sides have to, but the need for it is now accepted by everyone.
In representing our area, your area, what are the top 3 things on your wish list that you're going to bring to the table and say,
one is obviously
we need this?
Because we have such a concentration of freight and goods movement and people and pedestrians, that we always take into account the protection of the public health of our communities. As we build new infrastructure, we make sure that we do it in a way that protects our health, because it's better to pay now and fix it rather than to pay in the long run. For example, historically, we had some of the highest asthma rates in the nation. We have dramatically reduced those because of some of our, like example, our clean port policy. We have to continue to do that. We have to make sure that we can both have economic development and protection of our community. So those are the two. You have to want to develop this, but you have to do it in a way that protects our communities, and that's really the major goals.
All right. Congressman Alan Lowenthal, thank you very much for being here today to talk about that.
Thank you.
And glad you could join us too. I'm Leslie Leyton.